Welcome to GOLT Talk, your podcast for technology and innovation in the legal profession. If you're searching for solutions to revolutionize your legal practice, you're in the right place. 10 minutes pure, actionable product insights from CEOs shaping the future of legal technology. And here is your host, Pfennig.
Welcome to GOLT Talk, everybody, your podcast for innovation and technology in the legal and compliance world. Pure, actionable insights from CEOs shaping the future of legal technology. I'm your host, Pfennig, and today I warmly welcome Maarten Truyens, CEO of ClauseBase, based in Leuven, Belgium. Great having you on the call, Maarten.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Awesome, great timing, as I read that ClauseBase is expanding into North America, so you're really becoming a global brand and global legal tech software solution. Tell us a little bit about yourself and the company, please.
So, my name is Maarten. I'm a bit of a hybrid person. I always had some difficulties choosing between law and technology. In fact, the one fun fact is that I actually started doing computer science, but then after 2 weeks at university, I realized no, it was a mistake after all. I quickly switched universities and went to study law and then become an information technology lawyer for quite some years until the itch of wanting to develop my own software became too strong. So that's when we started doing this business, and then I introduced two co-founders, and then the rest is a bit history. It is the company as it is right now, a very proud European, Belgian legal drafting and reviewing software. That's what we offer as a platform. And so we are now expanding to Canada. Very recently, we see Canada a bit like big Belgium. It is also very multilingual, French, English. That's one of the things that our software is really good at, because unlike some other software packages, we are very much focused on multiple languages. If you know Belgium, small country, many languages, very complex, and mastering complexity, that's one of the things that we do with our software.
Excellent. So just to summarize it, which I think is very important, a lawyer as well as an IT expert creating software for lawyers to leverage technology. I think that's a very strong initial proposition already. So let's build on that, Maarten. And essentially you already segmented or segued into the first two questions, which are unique selling points and use cases. So obviously ClauseBase is a contract or document drafting tool, right? Tell us a little bit more about the uniqueness of ClauseBase compared to other competitors, please.
So what I think there are two axes that make us unique. One of it is that we are multi-paradigm, in the sense that we are, I think nowadays, the generative AI stuff comes first, of course, but it's not the only thing we do. It's a necessity, of course. Thank God that the generative AI technology came on the scene, because it was definitely needed in this drafting and reviewing space that we are in. It's necessary, but it's not enough at the same time. And I think what makes us unique is that we have a full toolbox. We didn't enter the scene like most of the competitors who did. We didn't enter when generative AI was born. We were here several years before, and so we had the opportunity to actually build a complete toolbox. A lot of cases are perfect for generative AI, but sometimes you need other technologies, like some of the traditional document automation, like for example Contract Express is doing, and we do this as well. We do this in a very unique way. If you need a first draft, that's the way to go. If you want to search for precedents from your drafting history, that's also not something that you do with generative AI. And you need to search this technology, search your database with our technology. It's perfectly possible. So these kinds of things are there. We do very boring things like document cleanup. It needs to be done at some point. You're done with your transaction, with your negotiations, and you need to make one big PDF file. Well, we do this. We change all the footers in one go. We accept changes. We look for proofreading errors, for missing definitions. All of these things are in there. So we are not a one-trick pony, basically. That's one of the two things that makes us unique. The other one is that we are very much focused on layout. So we know that a lot of lawyers struggle with layout, that Microsoft Word is their biggest friend and their biggest enemy at the same time. Everybody hates Word when you start to deal with layout, and so we are very good at layout. Most of our competitors just do plain text or minimal layout. We understand the docx format. We know it inside out. We teach about it. We automate documents in it. We have been doing it for many years, so we're really good at that, and that makes us unique in this space.
Cool. And obviously you're a Microsoft Word partner, so there's a plugin into MS Word. And then on the use cases, drafting, retesting, redlining, version control as well?
Yeah, version. So comparisons are in there in a very traditional way, looking at 50 different documents to see what are the differences, cleaning documents, all of that together. So it's drafting on the one hand, reviewing, comparing, cleaning, all of that. What we don't do is document management. So as from the moment that it gets signed, we stop. We don't do archiving, we don't do management, we don't do any post-signature stuff.
Correct. Okay, so let's move to allies and frenemies / competitors. Obviously, MS or Microsoft is a friend. Can you share a couple of competitors in your space, please? And there's a lot, obviously, in this segment. So those who you really think are closest to ClauseBase.
I think the closest one in terms of document automation, and it would be the old king in town was Contract Express from Thomson Reuters. Great product. I started working with it when I was still a lawyer, and it inspired me to actually build this company. In the meantime, it has its age, and right now I think the bigger competitors are Avoca and Document Drafter. One is a UK, the other is a Scandinavian product. They are sitting right in the middle of the two modules that we offer. We have a very sophisticated product called Clause 9 that is more powerful than them, but also a bit more complicated. We also have a simpler module that is a little bit less powerful, but also much simpler than what they offer. And then in terms of generative AI, there's of course the American Spellbook. They are doing a really great job. They have a very complete offering, but of course they do nothing outside of generative AI. And then I would say Legora, the previous Leia, they're a really cool company. It's impressive how they managed to build the buzz around the product, but they are also generative AI only. Doing a really great job there, but they do not do document automation. They do not do any document comparisons, cleanup, all of that stuff outside of generative AI. I think even deliberately staying away from the stories that I heard.
So just that the audience, and me included, understands the difference when you say they only do AI versus you have a much broader value proposition. Can you briefly explain the difference, please?
Yeah, so the generative AI that came on the scene at the end of 2023 with ChatGPT, it is very good technology. It is very creative. It is intelligent. It knows how to deal with language. It can reformulate things. Really great. But what it doesn't do because of technical limitations is, for example, it can't look into millions of or even thousands of files at the same time because it has a limited attention span, and it is also quite slow. So if you have a lot of files to search through, that's not the right technology. Maybe we'll get there in a few years, although signs are there that probably the core fundamentals of the technology will not change. And so it is a very smart engine, but it is limited in the amount of text that it can handle. And if you, for example, want to search for clauses, like you've written something in the past, you want to quickly find it in a matter of a few seconds, you need go through hundreds, if not thousands of files at the same time within a second. You can't do that with generative AI. The other problem with generative AI is it's at the same time its biggest strength and its biggest weakness is that it's super creative. Super creative, like you don't know when what it will present to you today. Tomorrow it will say something else. And in fact, if you ask exactly the same question twice, you'll get two completely different answers potentially, which is great if you are like, I'm looking for inspiration, I'm looking to reformulate a clause, I'm looking for something out of the ordinary. Really good. But it is the exact opposite of what you want for the first draft of a standardized contract, because there you want control over the last comma and you want predictability. And the last thing you want is that it would completely present different things every time that you ask it to produce a new contract. So it's just not the right tool for that kind of job.
And just final question on this part, do I have the option to deselect AI with ClauseBase, or is it always a hybrid that's being offered?
It is actually different modules. Within the modules, certain buttons that for example, then enable generative AI, because there are some interesting combinations possible. Like, for example, we do traditional document automation. Like if you, as an in-house team, you would always have the same standard service agreement. Well, you don't want this thing to change every time that you generate it. So you start with traditional technology, click, click, click. In a matter of 3 minutes, you have some completely customized document. And then you would ask generative AI to fill in some bits and pieces. Like, for example, you say, this is the email that I got from my client, fill in the name, address, all of these things, tweak a few things. And then it builds upon the foundation of the traditional technology. Across the platform, we have hundreds of little hooks where the generative AI comes in to make your life easier as a lawyer.
Wonderful. And in terms of uploading into ClauseBase, is it an on-premise layer on top of the enterprise repository, or is there an upload into your cloud?
It is an upload. So you should see us more as an island with a very good bridge towards mainland, but we are an island that is very easy to integrate in the sense that we do not go very deeply into your system. There are other possibilities, like, for example, if you do clause precedent searches, there a very interesting possibility is the one that Henchman, now LexisNexis, is taken. They say we completely suck up your database. So all of the files, your hundreds of thousands of files that you produced in the past, we suck them in, all of them, into our own platform, and then we do an analysis. And then what they allow you to do is to say, I've written that clause 6 years ago. Where is it? I don't recall exactly what it was formulated or in what file, but they allow you to quickly find that. It works, but at the same time, the downside of the technology is to have a lot of compliance problems, because you're essentially creating a copy of everything that is on your system. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to find that one thing that you are looking for. And second, the other downside of such technology is that it is very noisy, in the sense that it will usually present you way too much. If you ask for a confidentiality clause in 100,000 files, you'll get 100,000 confidentiality clauses, and nobody needs this. So what we do is to say, look, you can automatically upload files, but we are more into a minimum of selection before you actually upload it. Although we will never stop you from uploading whatever you want. If you want to do 100,000 files, please go ahead.
But it's not the business model per se.
It's one of the 10 modules that we offer for clause precedents, where the on-premise versus the cloud and the question of how do you integrate is felt the best. For just generative AI reformulating, integrations are not so relevant in this.
So there's options. Let's just put it this way. Whatever the client prefers, you can serve it.
Yeah. Although almost all of our clients go for cloud nowadays, because we have all the certificates, all the security layers are there. I think the entire industry is moving into cloud-based systems. Back when I was still an IT lawyer, I had a lot of negotiations about cloud. So the system was always built with the possibility of cloud or on-premise in mind. Client can choose which of the two, but in practice, we see that hardly anyone still does on-premise.
Okay, very interesting information. So let's move to the last two questions, Maarten. Implementation time, and of course it varies, we know, but just generically from your experience, what's to be expected? And secondly, price per license.
Yeah, the pricing, maybe that's the easiest. That's 99 euros per lawyer per month. We have some special plans if you want to, as an in-house legal team, for example, make document automation tools available to your business users, or as a law firm to your clients. That there is a possibility, but the essential pricing is 99 euros per person per month. As for the implementation, well, it really depends, like how advanced are you in terms of your legal automation journey. If you're just beginning, don't start with too much modules at the same time. We offer a lot of tools, like from drafting to reviewing and everything in between. Take it step by step, and we guide you. We are a team of former lawyers. Hardly anyone in this company doesn't have a legal background, so we are really into holding your hand, and that's necessary for a lot of teams to quickly start with something, but then you'll have questions, plenty of questions, because this is new territory for a lot of legal teams. So the implementation is always different. It's always different.
But you would have actually people on the ground, not just deploying the tech, which I guess is a plug and play thing. It's not something that requires weeks to install, but then the usability, the adoption, the features, that's where your team would come in and help a legal team to really maximize the utilization and benefit of the product.
Yeah, and I think there's also a lot of unlearning to do. We see that after a junior lawyer enters the firm, that it takes about 9 months to have bad habits. To learn from the traditional way of doing legal work, you quickly get into the habits of being not so efficient, of course, using Word in the wrong way, and not thinking about automation, not thinking about standardization, not thinking about becoming more efficient. And that habit quickly gets into the human system. This adoption is a big problem, I think, for every legal technology company. Like, you can have a very cool tech, but still it needs to be adopted at some point, and there is a lot of unlearning to do. And that's where I think the human factor and the human guidance that we offer is also very important.
I think that really is in sync with what we are seeing. And I, having been in-house for many, many years, I have to unlearn a lot of things myself now in my CEO role. I think this was a very, very insightful podcast. Absolutely appreciated the opportunity, very open and transparent. So thank you, Maarten Truyens, CEO of ClauseBase in Leuven, Belgium. All the best to you, and especially with the expansion in Canada. Take care and all the best.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.